stethoscopes.
Absolutely.
We'll try our best to answer it for you as well.
Are we good to go?
We are indeed. We are live.
We are live.
Fantastic. Okay.
Just wait for the monitor to come up. So, good afternoon. Now we have two cameras. We've got the Periscope camera and we've got the YouTube camera. We're looking at two different cameras. So, welcome to this Ask Medisave broadcast on YouTube on Periscope. This is your opportunity to ask questions about Littmann Stethoscopes particularly. We've got Matt here from Medisave, who's been working with stethoscopes for how many years, Matt?
12 years now.
12 years. So Matt is not medically trained, we need to be clear about that. Or he is also suffering from a cold, so we apologise for that.
I don't usually sound like this, but if I do, I've usually got colds. So.
But Matt has been working with stethoscopes for a long, long time here at Medisave, and knows an awful lot about them. And obviously spends quite a lot of time talking to Littmann.
Yeah, we've got a very good relationship with Littmann. With regard to kind of new products and things, we have a lot of kind of input into colours and not necessarily specifications like that, but we get to know a lot about the new products and stuff like that when they come out. We've got the entire Littmann range here for people to see, because it's not usually something people can actually present in one go. So it starts from what I would class as being the kind of the more basic scopes, the entry-level scopes, right up to the electronics. So you're talking about a price range from kind of like the late 20s up to £300 plus. So there's a lot of variation in kind of prices here for them. But obviously there's a lot of performance factors you get with it as well.
So where do you want to start, Matt? Which stethoscope would you want to start with, talking about stethoscopes to this audience that we have?
Probably a good place to start. And we've set them out actually in kind of like order of how they proceed throughout the range. Probably the best place to start is at the kind of lower end of the range and then kind of work our way up. There's kind of different distinctions between the different types of scopes here. You've got, for instance, these are the entry level ones, but you're talking the select and the lightweight. These are really kind of aimed at basic auscultation, so blood pressure, kind of basic patient analysis. They go on a scale with Littmann, so they'll actually rate them out of 10 for kind of sound quality, and these are both rated at 6 out of 10, which is very good for blood pressure assessment, kind of basic physical assessment, lung sounds, things like that. But when you start to pay more, you start to get more kind of specialist features and things. But we'll just go with these at the moment. So the lightweight, this is Littmann's kind of entry level. It's, I wouldn't say aimed specifically at the nursing market, but is often used for the kind of nursing market there. Very good for blood pressure kind of taking, so it can slip under the cuff quite easily when it goes on the patient's arm. This has a tunable diaphragm. Tunable diaphragm is something that Littmann do very, very well. This is a patented design for them, so this will alternate between high and low frequencies simply by just applying greater pressure on the patient's chest. That is pretty much standard throughout the entire Littmann range, apart from just the electronics and the infant and the paediatric. There are specific reasons for that. So I say the select is really the kind of the starter kind of scope there. The next one in the range is the lightweight. This is specifically classed as a nursing stethoscope. Acoustic quality is very good, and as the name suggests, it is very lightweight.
So would you expect a nurse to have their own stethoscope? Or would they have one supplied by the hospital or the doctor's surgery where they work or something like that?
It's a difficult thing really, because a lot of the time you'll actually, when they go into the kind of the placements or anything like that, a lot of them will have gone ahead and bought their own scope. One of the big things about the scopes is people often say if you leave them somewhere, they go missing, which is why of course we offer laser engraving. So a lot of time, I wouldn't say it's reticent to actually spend a lot of money on a scope, but there is this kind of security element of it which the engraving does take care of. Most people, when they go for a placement, most people when they go through the university courses, will invest in a stethoscope. Yeah. To the degree of the stethoscope they invest in, because it's a specific nursing scope, then you're probably talking a lot of people would consider this as their.
And is it the sort of thing that parents or whatever would buy for their son or daughter if they go off to medical school or to nursing school or something like that?
Probably one of the most popular choices.
Right.
It's one of the most popular things simply because the daughter, son, as you say, is going off to university. They want to give them a gift, and it's when you think about doctors, the first thing you think of is that they will have the stethoscope. It's probably the biggest piece of equipment they will buy. It's the most common piece of equipment they'll buy. We talked about otoscopes and thermoscopes beforehand, but this is the core product that they will go for. We said about doctors, basically, we kind of touched on that in there. Until this year, the Classic 2 SE was the benchmark stethoscope for all doctors to use. So if you went to a university, that would be it. That would be the stethoscope. They would say to you, this is what we specify you to get. This year, this has changed over to the Classic 3. So the Classic 2 has now changed over to the Classic 3, basically as the benchmark.
So Classic 2 SE, what was the SE? What does the SE mean?
Second edition.
Right.
Yeah. So previously, 1994, I think they changed over to the SE.
Right.
So it's had a good production run at the moment. The SE basically indicated that it had the push-on ear tips instead of the screw-on ear tips.
Okay.
Push-on ear tips, again, this is standard throughout the Littmann range. I'll show the viewers. So basically, the earbuds here are soft sealing. And soft sealing basically means that when it goes into the ear, it gives a lot more patient comfort. They come in large or small, so it's something that the patient doesn't. There's a lot more user coverage.
Right.
Covered
with the doctor or the nurse.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's wearing
So
it
it goes
ears.
into the user's ears.
Yeah.
It basically makes it a lot more comfortable. If they're wearing it. They do also come with the firm ear tips as well, because some people prefer the firm ear tip. And anatomically, and this is something that I always say, they are anatomically correct. Basically, they will face forward when the user is wearing it, they face the correct way.
Right.
One of the biggest things we see when people first actually go to put these on is they put it
on the wrong way around. Yeah.
And say, I can't hear anything. And we often get people calling us up saying, I can't hear anything through this way.
Right. And we blogged about that a while back on the blog. There's an article about how to use a stethoscope and a quick tip for knowing which way round the earpiece should be.
It's surprising actually as well, and it's not, it's not kind of made common knowledge initially for people, but it feels more comfortable than the other way, but it's actually counterintuitive to what it is there. But this is how it's been set up. Basically, it's a very, very comfortable scope. So Classic 2 SE was around for 20 years. The new one they brought out is the Classic 3. I say this is now what we regard as kind of the benchmark.
So that's the standard.
This is now
you'd expect people to be getting. Right?
Yeah, and the reason this is kind of being uprated at the moment, one of the big design features is this single piece.
Do you want to show the cameras?
Yeah. So this is the single piece diaphragm. So compared to the older diaphragms, which were the two piece, so we'll show you a two piece diaphragm at the same time. I'll show you the Classic 2. So if you look at these actually have a ribbon diaphragm assembly on it, whereas the new Classic 3 has this single piece.
So this is the Classic 2, so that's the old one.
That's right.
And that's the Classic 3. And sorry, to me, who's non-technical about these things, what's the difference again?
So this is basically made up of two parts. So it's made of a rim and diaphragm assembly, whereas this is actually a single piece. So it performs two very good functions. One, that the frequency response is very good with it. Less moving parts.
So better sound quality.
Yeah, better sound quality there. The other thing it has is very good infection control properties. So to actually disinfect this or to decontaminate the scope after using it, there's simply a pre-injection swab, so that will do very well.
Right.
So other major difference of the Classic 2 to the Classic 3 that they brought out is actually this pediatric diaphragm. The first time it's been available on a scope outside the cardiology range. So the Cardiology 3 has two diaphragms on it, a tunable diaphragm on paediatric and adult side, and the Classic 3 is now the same as well. So this has the paediatric side here.
So what I love about these, if I may grab them,
go for it.
is the colours. You see, I'm non-technical, so the colour appeals to me. What colour's the most popular, do you reckon?
Probably the rainbow is actually very, very popular.
The rainbow. So
you've got one in your hand at the moment.
Okay.
You've got the rainbow.
Oh right. Okay.
There we go. So you see the chest piece on that is actually a rainbow finish.
Okay. Right. Yes.
Got one here which is also a rainbow finish. This is paediatric. So show the viewers at home. And we like to tell customers that these are a bit like fingerprints. They're completely unique. So each one, because they're vapor coated, each one comes out slightly different.
Right, so they're not identical.
Right. They look brilliant when we engrave them as well. It comes that lovely kind of silvery colour on it, so it's a really nice finish to those. And I say the Classic 3 comes in a choice of different colours. I mean, I think there's 23 different colours.
23 different colours?
23 different colours.
So you have one to match your outfit?
Yes, well, yeah. In fact, you could wear one every day for your working days for the month and still probably come out. So, so the Classic 3, as I say, the upgrades from the Classic 2 are quite apparent. The paediatric side is a big, big development. You've got people that are potentially spending out to get another stethoscope afterwards to work with paediatrics. This will work with the whole range.
Right. Okay.
But a lot of people do prefer the open bell side there. It gives you instant access to low frequencies. So I've got a Classic 3 here. This is the Classic 3 copper edition.
Right.
What I have done is I've taken the diaphragm off and actually converted it to a traditional bell. This is something that is a feature of the scope.
Oh, okay, so you can go back to the traditional bell.
Yeah, so if you're not working with paediatrics, if you don't, for
Right.
instance, need that, you can just convert it straight back to that, and then essentially it looks very similar to the Classic 2.
Excellent.
Very, very similar kind of setup with it here. Classic 3 comes with a 5-year warranty then, but Classic 2 came with a 3-year warranty. So you've got an upgrade on the kind of warranty-wise for that.
So you can still buy the Classic 2. So it's been superseded by the Classic 3, but you can still buy the Classic 2.
It has been superseded and it has been discontinued to a point. So there are only certain colours available.
Right.
Again, we used to have a lot of different colours available for the Classic 2, and now they've kind of brought the range right down.
Okay.
But you've still got the populars in there, like the all black and the standard kind of finishes and things like that. But we still do sell a lot of the Classic 2. It's a very, very good scope. But the Classic 3, because of this extra diaphragm on it, is doing really, really well in the market at the moment. And this is the one, as I say, we go around to all the universities at the start of the kind of student year. Students ask us, which scope should I go for? Until last year, it was the Classic 2, or sorry, until 2014, it was the Classic 2, but 2015, it started to go towards the Classic 3 now. So, very good model.
You're watching us here in Medisave in Weymouth on YouTube and on Periscope. If you've got any questions about stethoscopes, then feel free to ask them, or just feel free to watch. If you like what we're doing, then if you're on Periscope, then please tap the screen. Let's have some hearts popping up. Have we had any hearts popping up yet?
Yeah.
Oh, we have. Brilliant. Oh, it's excellent. Thank you. And there's probably a like button on YouTube. I'm sure there is. So hit the like button. But please, send us comments. Or on Twitter, just use the hashtag AskMedisave if you have questions about stethoscopes, or indeed about anything else. We can tackle questions about other products outside of this particular broadcast. But Matt's talking about stethoscopes here.
Yeah, so we've got to the Classic 2, Classic 3. A couple of variants in the Classic 2 at the moment. We have the infant and paediatric. So the infant is a neonatal scope.
So that's tiny, isn't it?
Tiny.
That's have you got a regular one to compare that with?
So that's the standard Classic 2. So that gives you an idea of
So this is just size. Tiny, yeah.
So this is a from birth scope.
Wow.
Okay. Now this one, as I say, there are a couple in the range that don't have a tunable diaphragm. This is one. The paediatric is another. And then you have the electronics. The electronics don't, because they don't have to apply high and low frequency pressure to get a change in the.
So you said tunable diaphragm several times, and I've not asked you the question. I can't remember if you explained it, but explain it again. Tunable diaphragm. How do you tune it?
Well, basically, it's just purely by just pressure changes.
Okay.
So pressure changes will give you the alternation between high and low frequencies.
So when you're putting it against someone's chest, you can, or wherever, you just the degree of
standard, and then push it higher, and you get different frequencies.
Right. Okay.
So that's the idea of the tunable diaphragm.
Right.
So when you have a single piece, a single-sided chest piece. So this is another kind of thing, but this is what they call a double-sided chest piece, or a dual-head chest piece. It has the bell on one side, or as you say, the paediatric side, and then the adult side on this side here. Whereas a single piece, another one in the range, I should move conveniently to at the moment, is the Master Classic. This is a single-sided diaphragm. So it's got a single diaphragm on the adult side here. The chest piece, as I say, is just literally just a single side of it. So this has only got the option to use high and low frequencies and alternation of pressure.
Right. So what's the difference? Obviously, there's a physical difference in terms of it hasn't got the diaphragm on the other side. But why would you choose that one rather than one that's got that?
This one, this acoustically is rated at 8 out of 10. So if you went acoustically, you're talking 6 out of 10 for the Select and Lightweight, 7 out of 10 for all of the classics up to the Master Classic, which is rated at 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Slightly thicker binaural, slightly thicker ear tube on here. We've got a lot of paramedics buy this one. I think convenience-wise, it's very easy to kind of move it around the body and stuff like that. It's quite easy to grip hold of and things. But realistically, it's people's kind of preference really for it.
Yeah.
The doctors will generally always go for the dual head stethoscope as the starter one.
Right. So the Classic 3. Now.
Yeah, the Classic 3 now basically is the one to go for. But the Master Classic in the range, it is popular, but it's not as popular as say the Classic 3 or the Classic 2s. there's a definite kind of correlation to people tend to go for these as the kind of starter scopes. There is a variant of this actually for the vet students or the vet market, which is the 1392, which is a veterinary scope. It only comes in navy blue, and these lengthwise are between 27 and 28 inch, depending on model.
Yeah.
The vet's version is 32 inch. It's just basically keep you away from the animals, which so
They don't have a huge head. I'm just thinking about the difference between the pediatric one and the regular one. So if you're using a stethoscope on a horse or something,
yeah, this is
it doesn't come with a huge head.
It doesn't come with a huge weight head on it. Again, I think it's probably just for the fact that it kind of suits the purpose and stuff like that. There, I mean, the frequency response of it must suit the veterinary applications. Yeah. If you're working with very small animals, a lot of people will often go for the paediatric or the infant, or potentially something that has the paediatric kind of side with it. So you then go to something that will say like potentially classic 3, if you want something very sensitive, potentially cardiology 3 above that. So we've gone through the range now up to the kind of master classic area.
Just see if have we got any questions coming in yet?
Yes, on YouTube.
No? Anything popping up there? That's fine.
Okay. We then go to the cardiology range.
Okay.
So we've gone through the kind of the entry levels, we've gone through the classics, we're now on the cardiology range. Now, the cardiology range is where they become a lot more acoustically sensitive. So you're paying a lot more money for these scopes. They are more of an investment, but they are a lot more sensitive. And people, when they listen to a classic, when they're trained, listen to a cardiology when they're trained, they will notice the difference quite vast.
You talked about the whatever out of 10, so 6 out of 10 and going up.
Yeah.
I mean, the cheapest stethoscopes you can buy on eBay or whatever. Yeah. I mean, what are they going to be at?
It depends on how Littmann grade it, basically. I would say the thing is you would find with it is, I mean, Littmann put enormous amounts of money into developing these products. They test frequency responses against other products on the market, and Littmann have an enormous hold on the market. They are literally the only stethoscope we will get asked for.
Right. But I mean, I guess there are non-branded stethoscopes out there.
There are non-branded scopes out there you can buy. Yeah. They wouldn't have the tunable diaphragm technology, and that's a big thing. Because tunable diaphragm technology, if you've only got a single-sided chest piece, you've only got the option of one frequency if it's not a tunable diaphragm. And there are some companies that are trying to recreate the tunable diaphragm, but it's not as good as Littmann. Right. Simple as that.
So they're the only ones who really do it at the minute?
Yes. Right. Yeah, and they're the only ones. I mean, the kind of leap forward with this single piece diaphragm is a very, very big step forward. Right. I've actually got one of the diaphragms here, but I'll explain to you about it being just a single piece.
Do you want to bring it to the camera so they can see what's going on?
You can see how it's kind of moulded in here. Very simple to change these as well. When you literally just put your hand on the side, pop, and that's it, they'll pop off. And
how often would you need to change the diaphragm?
It depends on how well you treat your scope.
Okay.
Ideally, I mean, there's going to be a service life on them anyway. A lot of people will have one of the scopes around their neck, they put it in their pocket. If you're the kind of person that drops your phone,
wear and tear, all that stuff, exactly. Yes.
You probably do it quite a lot. These don't have the rim around the outside that the kind of ones with the two-piece diaphragm have. So they're not going to take quite as much of a battering. But then if you're putting, 60, 100 pounds into a scope or so, you're probably be looking after it quite well. You don't want to be kind of smashing it around too much or so. I mentioned the cardiology, so we've gone on to the cardiology side of the range here now. This is the cardiology 3. So if you were talking the scopes that basically people will start with and then progressing on from. Yeah. So med school, people will have started, or the doctors would have started with the classic 2, almost certainly. Qualification-wise, or getting into the latter kind of stages of the kind of the university course or so, they're likely to go for a cardiology 3 because this is the next step up. Right. Now, the cardiology scopes are all indicated by this lumen here, the dual lumen on the binaural. The binaural is also the tubing you have here. The dual lumen means it has basically 2 tubes in one. So each side of this leads down to a single tube here, it looks like, but there's actually...
Just compare that with one of these. So take that one out here. So,
as you look, it's like almost instantly you can see the difference between the 2 here. This is a single tube throughout the centre. This is a dual tube, it's a double tube, so there is a division right up the centre of this, the actual tubing here. which divides the sound between the two ear tips. These are both got the same kind of thickness of ear tips on them, but the sound comes up here and then gets divided off into the top, whereas this is a more direct kind of sound route. Being thicker, it transfers the sound better as well.
Right.
So simply you get a more acoustically sensitive scope. Again, it's got the dual head kind of design with it here, and there's both tunable diaphragms, adult and paediatric side. Again, as on the Classic 3, you can take the paediatric side off and create an adult bell side as well there. So it's got a lot of options with this. So this is kind of like the next step up from the Classic 2, Classic 3 range. And if you wanted something more acoustically sensitive, this is the kind of one that most people will go for afterwards. This is more of a, I don't think the name cardiology, it doesn't mean you have to be a cardiologist to buy it.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, it sounds like it's for a specialist area of medicine, but you're saying it's not.
It's not at all. You know, a few years back, Littmann had the traditional stethoscope, which was basically almost the same as the cardiology design, just with an open bell on one side. But the majority of people were still going for the cardiology scope, and you don't have to be a cardiologist to buy this. It's a very, very sensitive scope. You can have it as a standard kind of scope if you want to. Again, if you're in a specialist kind of field, you're working with paediatrics, these are very useful as well. But they are more acoustically sensitive, and a lot of people, this is the kind of natural trade-up for them. So it's a great scope.
Okay, let's put this one back.
The unusual one in the range next is the STC. This one, just to point out, this is acoustically rated at 9 out of 10.
Right, okay, so we're getting towards the top end now.
We are getting towards the top end now. This is the STC. STC stands for Soft Touch Chest Piece.
Okay.
Okay, so it just basically means that they've got these kind of rubber pads
we
on
have a
here.
look at that on the camera.
Yep. Okay.
So again, that's a single-sided stethoscope, so it's only got the one side that's active, as it were.
And then basically the soft touch here, it reduces what they call frictional noise. So when you're putting your fingers on the scope here and you're pushing down, you can often hear kind of crackle and stuff like that.
From the fingers moving on the scope, right.
This reduces frictional noise. It's not the most popular scope in the range. It's very, I believe, I've been told, very good for anesthesiologists. You know, it's something that they can augment around the body fairly kind of simply. Again, it's got the tunable diaphragm, very, very sensitive, but it's not the most popular scope in the range. You would find that in the cardiology range, cardiology 3 is most popular, and then you're going to go to the master cardiology.
Maybe we want to get a doctor or something in for one of these sessions and actually talk about using this, like, because obviously you know an awful lot about these products from years of working with them and talking with the manufacturers and talking with customers as well.
But we don't get to see. We often go out to events, for instance, British Cardiovascular Society events. We go to a lot of these events.
Yeah.
You speak to the doctors. You know, they'll try the stethoscopes beforehand, and you get to kind of spot the most popular version. In fact, probably one of the most popular scopes we have. And I brought this one in specifically because this is the very top of the range of the acoustic scopes, and this is the Master Cardiology. So this one is rated at 10 out of 10.
Right.
So it's a very, very acoustically sensitive scope. This one shares the same dual lumen binaural beforehand. This is actually the smoke finish, so this is the 2176 barcode. This is the most popular in the Master Cardiology range.
Right.
This is the smoke finish, I'll say, so it's an anodized kind of smoke finish on it. I'll show you Tom there in a second. This one has a unique diaphragm within the range, which has a huge kind of range on it. So you see when I press down on that.
There's a lot of movement there, isn't there?
There's a lot of movement compared to the standard ones. Yeah. This helps to make it more acoustically sensitive. Also, this is forged steel, so it's a very, very strong, very kind of solid scope. You know, you don't get a lot of background for noise or anything like these here. This has a paediatric adapter with it. These are parts that you get in. So within the box, a lot of the time you will get the firm ear tips, you'll get the small ear tips on the cardiology range as well. And this is what they class as a special procedures adapter. So if you were working as a, for instance, with paediatrics at some point, or for instance working with adults most of the time and then seconded to paediatrics or so, Cardiology 3 would do very well for you, but the paediatric adapter on this one would then work with the paediatric side as well.
Do you want to show the periscope?
Okay, so just fitting this on.
So everybody say we're talking about stethoscopes on YouTube and also on Periscope. This is Matt, who's been working with these things for years. If you've got any questions you want to ask during the session, this is really the last time to ask them because we're pretty much at the end of time here. But certainly, yeah, if you like what we're doing, then hit the screen on Periscope, send some hearts up, put some likes on YouTube. If you've got questions, then feel free to use the hashtag AskMedisave and ask questions on Twitter at any point, even after this session's finished. We'll certainly be keen to answer questions. It's always important to hear questions from you. So just as a wrap up, really.
Yeah, no problem. Well, as a wrap up now, we're going to go to the electronics. And the electronics are simply the most acoustic sensitive scope we currently sell.
Okay.
I say acoustic sensitive, they pick up on the sound very, very, very simply. They are amplified, they look very traditional. So when we look at the scope here, so we've got the 31 and the 3200. This is said beforehand about the tunable diaphragms.
Yeah.
This is a non-tunable diaphragm, but they use frequency selectors on it to alternate between the two frequencies. These are acoustically rated at 10 plus out of 10. So this is like the next level. So it's
like 110% or something, which of course is impossible. But obviously it's going really high. On the back, of course, you've got set controls.
Yeah,
you want to show those
set
to the
controls
cameras?
there. I'll just show these to the camera a second. So the controls here, you've got your frequency kind of response here, so you can change between high and low frequencies just by pressing a button. You can increase the sound volume or decrease the sound volume. You can set your kind of preferences for when it starts up. So say if you wanted to go to start up so the backlight wasn't too bright, for instance, you're working nights, whatever it is, okay, I'll set it up so it's not too bright. I'll set it up so the volume's kind of mid-range or so there. And I want it to be a diaphragm mode. No problem at all. That's possible. And these are very, very good. These are very, very popular with people who are working in noisy environments because they have ambient noise reduction. So I
was going to ask you, what sort of people buy them, right? So it's particularly in a noisy environment, because the quality of sound is so good.
Again, it doesn't have to be, and we've got a lot of local paramedics that have these, because you think of the environments they work in, they're quite hostile sometimes, the environments, they need to be listening to something, they've got a lot of background noise going on. You think of these guys that work in Saturday nights or so there, with all the people in town. It's very, very noisy. So these are very, very acoustic sensitive scopes. And I say both of these are rated 10 plus out of 10. The 3200 compared to the 3100 has the option to play back.
What's in its battery? What's in its power?
These are very simple though to change this. Look.
Okay.
So
put that in there.
That's it. And then I'll just flip into place. And that's it. It starts up. So it's a very, very simple procedure. You can't use these things. I say the volume control, for instance, at the side, change between bell and diaphragm mode is very, very simple. You have a heart rate display on it. You also have the battery output as well. And people say, how long is the battery going to last on these things? Usually around 6 months use or so there. And it will tell you when the battery's getting low, and to replace it, basically just pop. That's all.
Brilliant. So, are we still live on YouTube?
We are. We
Are
have
we
a
still
question.
live? We have a question.
We have a
Brilliant.
question on
Yes,
YouTube
please.
from somebody I think's just joined us.
Okay.
I said, hi, I'm starting med school this September. Can you recommend what might be the best stethoscope for me?
Okay. Very simply, you've joined probably the latter kind of stages of the discussion. We were going through the classic range beforehand. The Classic 3 has taken over from the Classic 2 as the stethoscope that is being recommended for med school usage. The Classic 3, I have one here. This is the new stethoscope from Littmann. This was only introduced, I believe, the very last part of 2013. So we've had a year with it now. It's been the first year it's gone out to the medical schools. The Classic 3 has 2 tunable diaphragms on it. It has a specific pediatric side and a specific adult side. These are the new single-piece diaphragms. It has now the thicker binaural and the larger ear tips with it as well, and a 5-year warranty. So it's really taken over from the Classic 2. The Classic 2 was the standard for a long period of time. We still have the Classic 2 here, but it is available in a certain amount of colours now, but they are...
It's amazing how many colours you can get. So this presumably is the colour chart for what this
That's
is.
the colour chart for it, but those colours there aren't available in every single one of the ranges.
Right, okay.
There are a few that I've spotted there. The champagne is no longer available. That's the sound there. That is still available. Yeah. But there are a few colours that they do occasionally discontinue in certain ranges. Right. But as a whole, the biggest amount of colours we have available at the moment is in the Classic 3. Going back to the question, if I was going to recommend a scope for a medical school student, definitely the Classic 3. That's the new kind of industry standard. We've got the banner in the background actually saying the new industry standard. Littmann have had the Classic 2 on a production run of 20 years, and they've replaced it with the Classic 3, and it's done very, very well. We've seen a huge swing of sales towards the Classic 3 over the Classic 2 now. So I hope that answers their question. If anybody's got any other questions or anything at all, we are here to just to, whatever they think is, what's this available in colour-wise, or is there a certain edition that's better than others? Go for it.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to ask questions. You can use hashtag AskMedisave on Twitter. You can ask questions on Facebook. You can ask questions through the website. There's 24-hour live chat. Lots of ways to get in touch. And the team here do like to get your questions.
Final thing for me, I was just going to go back to the 3200 and say the difference between this and the 3100. 3200 has a record and playback facility.
So these are the digital scopes?
These are the digital scopes. Right. So the electronics, the very, very good quality scopes, they come with a 2-year warranty, which is an ear-tip to diaphragm warranty. So it's an unusual kind of thing, but basically it covers any kind of defects whatsoever. They're very, very acoustically sensitive. We've talked about ambient noise reduction with them, but the Bluetooth facility with it, so you can go out and you can record 12 29-second tracks with this scope. So if you need to capture a particular condition that's going on, you have 12 29-second tracks to do this. Paramedics locally have said they've used it beforehand with kind of patient assessment and then post-assessment after they've, for instance, nebulized drugs or so there. They've gone through and they've actually done a check beforehand and afterwards and actually recorded the kind of the results with it there. And because these tracks that you have got there, in front of the track you can actually record what they call a voice annotation. So
a voice note?
Yeah, so basically you've recorded the track and you said, okay, this is this patient, this is the time, whatever it was. And then if you record one afterwards, you get that assessment afterwards as well. They're really very, very clever. You can play back at half speed on it. You can download these tracks. You can attach those as a phonocardiogram. So if you wanted a second opinion, potentially they're useful there as well.
So it's a huge difference from the basic stethoscopes we started with.
I mean, we mentioned about price beforehand. I say there is a huge difference obviously in price between this and that. But it does depend what you're using it for and what you need it for. And if you require that kind of record facility, it's really the only scope on the market for you at the moment.
Brilliant. Okay, well thank you. Any final questions coming in? No? No? Okay. Well thank you for watching. Thank you, Matt, for talking about Littmann Stethoscopes for the last little while. Thank you to Tom and Tim, who've been managing the technology for us. So if you've got a question, then ask Medisave, hashtag ask Medisave on Twitter, ask a question on Facebook, ask a question on live chat on the website. And we'll be running more of these sessions in the future, so watch out on the website or on Twitter or Facebook for notifications of when we'll be doing those and what we'll be talking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much.